Breaking news just now, the Obama administration will reject the Keystone pipeline. Robert Bryce from the Manhattan Institute is on the phone with us. Robert, a lot of people not necessarily surprised, but the timing is peculiar here. What do you make of it?
Well, Charles, I feel like Captain Renault in the movie Casablanca. I'm shocked that the Obama administration is rejecting Keystone XL. Look, they already rejected it. This move was just a formality. By delaying this decision for years, they'd rejected it already. So now, I mean, clearly this is a political move that Obama gets to claim in advance of the Paris climate talks that begin on the 30th of this month that he's taking some significant action. So
in other words, to quote the White House, the urgency of climate change, he puts that in his back pocket. Now he tries to force the rest of the world leaders to make other sacrifices.
Charles, claiming that blocking Keystone XL is going to save the climate is like trying to make your diet work by shooting the pizza delivery guy. It's not going to work. The reality is, one, that these oil sands are getting to market. Remember, North Dakota has added over a million barrels a day of rail terminal capacity. Western Canada has added another 1.1 million barrels of rail terminal capacity. Keystone XL had a design capacity of 830,000 barrels. This hasn't stopped the move of oil by pipeline. It's increased the move of oil by rail.
But here's the interesting thing, though. The White House now shifting their argument that this is a low-job producer, a handful of temporary jobs. It doesn't benefit American oil. To climate change makes me worry because we've got another year or so under President Obama. And if the urgency of climate change is going to be the main driver of policy, that can impact a whole lot of other industries.
Of course, Charles, and what we're seeing already is that the Obama administration is planning to use executive orders. They're using the Environmental Protection Agency to enforce a lot of what are, in fact, taxes on carbon emissions. But, you know, what's interesting, if you put this into in perspective, look at a May decision or a May report that came out from the Environmental Working Group, which is hardly a creature of the right. They said that by using corn ethanol in our gasoline, I'm quoting now, has been worse for the climate than projected emissions from the controversial Keystone XL pipeline. So if Obama is really serious about climate change, why isn't he stopping the use of corn ethanol in our gasoline and instead of using this pipeline as a political example?
I think because someone's got to win Iowa. and we know it's all politicized. And we also know that this is not even a proverbial drop in the bucket with respect to the global impact on the climate from man-made use of fossil fuels. Hey, Robert, thanks a lot. We really appreciate it. I want to go now to Andy Puzder. He's the CEO of CKE Restaurants out in Santa Barbara. First, sir, your thoughts on this Keystone decision?
Well, I think it shows that the Obama administration, as everybody knows, makes decisions based on politics, not on economics. Nothing has helped this country more economically than the oil production that we've had domestically, particularly in North Dakota. And nothing's helped the working poor and low-income Americans more than the reduction in the price of gasoline at the pump. This would have reduced the transportation costs for oil. When you reduce transportation costs, you reduce costs at the pump. So this administration, it's all about politics. It's all about, you know, whether they get elected, whether they can satisfy their base, and not about economics, which is why we have 1.5% GDP growth in the third quarter.
You know, and to your point, it's so amazing with economic regulations or policy that is actually seeing the average paycheck go down. At the very least, you would think we would reward Americans with cheaper fuel. It boggles the mind how high on his political importance the environmentalists come and this kind of thing. I want to ask you, though, about Obamacare, because it's the president's signature legislation, and now all the worst-case scenarios that we heard about, that we read about for the last couple of years, they're starting to come to fruition.
You know, one thing that doesn't get discussed a lot is the commissioner of the Internal Revenue Service came out in July and said 7.5 million people had paid the penalty rather than buy insurance in the Obamacare exchanges. 12 million people claimed an exception that they didn't have to buy insurance or pay the penalty. And there's 30 different exceptions. They're fairly easy to qualify for. You don't really have to give any backup. So there are things that people probably claim who weren't really entitled to them. That's 19.5 million people, and they got to be low-income Americans, lower middle-income Americans, who actually took an affirmative action not to buy an Obamacare policy. How can you claim that this was the Affordable Care Act, that it was making insurance affordable for middle-class and working-class Americans, when you've got almost 20 million people doing everything they can not to buy the insurance. I mean, it was not a well-executed or well-thought-out piece of legislation.
The market is speaking, and you actually wrote about this. There's a great piece in the Wall Street Journal I urge everyone to watch.
Thank you.
To read, rather. And before I let you go, Andy, this report that junk food does not cause people to be fat. Did you write that?
No, I didn't. But it makes perfect. You eat too many carrots, you're going to get fat. I mean, if you watch what you eat, if you're careful what you eat, you should be fine. And in our, there's two things. One is, if you go to a fast food restaurant, can you get healthy food? And absolutely you can. We have turkey burgers. We have all-natural beef burgers. We have a variety of products. You can get low carb. And I try and cut down on carbs to keep my weight down. I think that actually works.
Right.
The second part is, can you actually eat a burger with a bun and a bunch of stuff on it every once in a while? Absolutely. Enjoy yourself. Have a great time. But work out, have a balanced diet, and have a, watch what your lifestyle is.
You're living proof of it. Carl, thank you Andy, thank you very much. Carl's Jr., of course,
Thanks,
I'm thinking in the back of my head. Thank you very much.